Hi everyone, I'm Parag with Webgility. This video is being recorded as part of our series called Beat It. I'm talking to entrepreneurs and experts in retail on how they're beating COVID-19. Today, it's my pleasure to chat with Renee Hanson. She's an amazing female entrepreneur, a U.S. Army veteran running an athletics business called Bani Bands, and I hope I've pronounced that correctly. And she'll be sharing her incredible journey building her business and the pivot she's made to help our critical frontline workers fighting the pandemic. Welcome, Renee.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Excellent. And then I also have with me Emily, and you probably remember her from one of our previous recordings. She runs the Elevate Growth Group, where she helps brands with their e-commerce business and specifically with the Amazon channel. And she happens to be a partner with Renee. She's helping them build their brand on Amazon. Welcome, Emily, and it's great to chat with you again.
Thanks for having me back, Parag.
Of course, excited to have you. So, Renee, your story is both incredibly fascinating and also very inspiring. So could you tell us a little bit about how you got started with your business? And also we'd love to hear kind of how things have changed for you because of coronavirus and some of the changes that you've made.
Yeah, of course. Well, our story basically started in 2008, but I won't drag you all the way back into all those details. But we have been in business since 2008. When I got out of the Army, I went to fashion school, did a pivot, and learned cut and sew apparel manufacturing. So when we started the business, it was tall-sized athletic apparel, and then we started making headbands on the side, and we were going volleyball tournaments all over the country, and living in a motorhome and driving from event to event to get the business going. So it was a really exciting time. It was also, kind of relevant to right now because we started right after the economy, right before the economy tanked in 2008.
Wow, so you're a veteran in more ways than one.
Yeah, this is our second time seeing like major economic catastrophe in this country, and just figuring out how to best serve our customers and best serve the people of this country and figure out what it is that they need right now and provide those products. We're a product-based company, and like I said, my background's in cut and sew manufacturing. So we have been in the headband business solidly for the last 11 years. And recently, we've pivoted to manufacture headbands with buttons to help nurses and doctors and healthcare workers that are wearing masks all the time, that we're now making headbands that have a button on them so that they can put the mask strap around the button instead of their ears. So that was very much in our wheelhouse. We were already a headband manufacturer. And we're also manufacturing fabric face masks. So our products are made in USA, and we just had, the opportunity to kind of pivot our business and make sure we're giving people what they need right now to help them feel better while they're working. First responders are working, and essential workers, as well as, giving people masks so that they can go outside. I mean, there's certain, cities in this country that you're not allowed to be outside without a mask on. I know that's true in both Miami and New York City. And so we're, trying to manufacture these items and get those out to the people, so the people have what they need to cover their face when they're in public.
Yeah, it's I got to say that's entrepreneurs are tested in the sort of toughest of times, and boy, what a fantastic idea, and you're really helping so many people out there that could really benefit from this. How did you, Emily? Did you meet with Renee? And it sounds like you guys have had a close working relationship, especially through this pivot of the business from towards supporting the medical workers.
Yeah, so we've been working with Renee and Bani Bands for, almost 2 years. And so, supporting their sales and growth on Amazon. And part of the reason I thought she would be such a wonderful guest for you to have in this Beat It series is because, we've actually had a lot of the clients at Elevate have seen sales increase, not due to anything specifically they were doing. It's just luck of the draw. If you're in a category that, where demand increased and people were going to buy online, then you got to capitalize on that. Unfortunately, like athletic headbands are not one of those categories. And so, I was so inspired to see the way that Renee reacted to coronavirus because, I know you've seen it too. Not everyone is saying, where's the opportunity? How can I serve? Right? There are people that have gone into fear mode and how do I just conserve cash and make whatever I have last as long as it can last. And I'm so inspired by what Renee has been able to do and the way that she's been able to pivot and navigate this. And, it's an honor to help her serve customers.
Yeah, indeed. So Renee, your story could be not just inspirational, but hopefully serve as sort of a really strong sort of strategic and maybe tactical playbook for how retailers can combat this crisis. So if you could walk me through a little bit in terms of how you decided to sort of make this pivot, what was that sort of light bulb moment? And also, if you could dive in just a little bit in terms of some of the steps you took because clearly you're in manufacturing, so you would have had to change a lot of your production line and make a lot of operational changes to be able to make such a different, such a transition. Although, I'll let you sort of share the story.
Yeah, of course. Well, one of my sisters is a nurse, and she is working in a COVID unit at the VA hospital in Kentucky. And she had sent me, she's in a lot of the Facebook healthcare groups, and she had sent me a screenshot of a nurse wearing a headband with buttons on them and basically said, you should do this. And I was like, wow. I didn't know this was a thing. So, but of course it makes perfect sense. Like, I mean, she's not used to wearing a mask her entire shift. Like nobody is. Like, it wasn't a normal thing to wear, a surgical mask or an N95 for an entire shift. So, after a couple of days of that, the back of their ears was just absolutely wearing out, getting raw. It's like, I can't imagine, being in that environment. It's already so stressful. And then to have like something that you have to wear be irritating to you, like that's just, So I realized I'm like, okay, this is completely in our wheelhouse. I just have to find buttons. So honest to God, the first like 25 headbands that went out, I hand sewed them from buttons from Walmart. So, I mean, I just was like, I have to get these on the website immediately, and I messaged Elevate Group and had them get them up on Amazon. We were actually first on Amazon for that particular item. And my factory is in Southern California, but I do have suppliers overseas as well. So we were lucky enough. I mean, so many things are shut down in California too, but they're a cut and sew manufacturing. They were starting to make masks and, basically, I mean, not medical grade PPE, but PPE for people who are needing it. So they are considered an essential factory. So I'm, also very lucky that my supply chain is stable, both here and in China. And
that's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's really remarkable, like just the way the virus has unfolded globally, that China's through the bulk of it now that the US is getting hit. And and that my factory is in California versus New York City. So, I mean, there is a lot to think about in the supply chain, and also, making sure that people are taking the right precautions, and that, if we have a demand and we're providing a product, to make sure that if one of those supply chains goes down, then I have backup from the other. So we were able to find buttons in Los Angeles through a supplier. And then I just went ahead and immediately ordered a significant amount of buttons from my Chinese supplier that are all here now. So now we're like starting to catch up with production. But my factory in California went and got an actual button sewing machine. Like it's like a big industrial machine that just does buttons super fast. So, they were already making our headbands. I ordered a bunch more, and they've been able to produce we got the first batch of their production earlier this week. Otherwise, I've had a couple home sewers in our area help us with, so they're in their own space and it's clean and sterile, and they've been sewing buttons on headbands that we already had in inventory at our warehouse in Nevada.
So you went from, so you kind of overnight with sort of, stitching of a few buttons, went from being a non-essential category business to becoming an essential one, which is just amazing. Can you talk a little bit about kind of the strategy once you got the basic products? Like you said, you got your first 25. So was this kind of an experiment you ran on your website or with Emily's help on Amazon? How did you?
Yeah, it was not an experiment. That's one of the strengths that I have, is actually, just kind of noticing trends, and if it's in our wheelhouse, being able to, accelerate that and position ourselves to be in front of the wave. And that I knew it wasn't just something that was going to be a flash in the pan. Like, obviously this isn't going away anytime soon. People are going to continue to wear masks, whether it's healthcare workers or the general public. And so I feel that this particular product will have some longevity. By all means, I hope it doesn't. I hope this thing's over in a month and nobody's wearing a mask and we're all hugging each other again.
Sure.
But the reality is, I don't think that that's going to be the case. And I'm super grateful to have it in my wheelhouse to be able to produce, products that people need to stay more comfortable during this time frame.
Sure. And you mentioned you have a website, and then you obviously have an Amazon presence. In terms of, if you could speak to sort of both the channels and how maybe the strategy was a bit different, because especially with marketplaces, you probably had to change even your product category to sort of become a little bit more relevant and get that kind of presence. So talk to me a little bit about how you went about, listing your products and making some of those changes so you could actually get those eyeballs to start purchasing your product.
Right. Well, we are already selling headbands on Amazon. So we actually converted an old listing that was the same headband, but we just added buttons to it and pushed it out in that manner, as like we just kind of recreated a listing essentially. Without breaking rules. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Emily can talk more on that. So we basically just added buttons to existing listings, like buttons to the headbands that were on existing listings, and then optimized keywords so that when people are searching, headbands with buttons for nurses or headbands with buttons for masks, that they would start to find us. Ironically, there have been quite a few Chinese sellers that have put the identical product up, including my photograph and all of the content that Elevate created for us. There's been at least 20 that we've submitted to take, for infringement. It's just weird to see my photo because, of course, because there's nobody else around. Like, it's my husband and I working in our office and our warehouse. Like, I don't have a model that I can just throw a headband on and take a picture of. So it's like my actual photo in these listings. I'm like, well, it's what you have to work with. You work with what you have.
Absolutely.
To work with.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got to make do with all the resources that you have. It's sort of the sign of entrepreneurs. Emily, I wonder if you could maybe double click into what you did in terms of the Amazon strategy and how it might have also differed from the direct website that Renee has.
Yeah, so a few things with the Amazon piece. Generally we vet products in advance. It's a collaboration with the brand. I think Renee showed us the product and our team immediately was like, yes, there's going to be demand for that. I think we all knew right away that it made a ton of sense to do. We did need to be a little bit careful because Amazon is being so tricky right now around face masks and things like that. So that was where we wanted to tread very carefully to make sure that this product was able to get out there and be purchased and didn't in any way get miscategorized or flagged by Amazon as being a face mask. So my creative team was really, really quick to get this turned around. We all felt the urgency of the situation. And so we prioritized getting these images done above, some of the other client work that was in the queue. And, we tried to find creative ways of like kind of graying out the mask on some of the images so that it was really clear what was included and what wasn't. We got some ad spend allocated to that product right away. Renee had FBM, fulfilled by merchant capabilities. So, I share that because I know that's how your brain thinks too, Parag, right? Like we can make it sound like, oh, we just flipped a switch and something's on, but it's not really true.
I was going to ask you exactly that as a follow-up. Yeah. Okay, so you got these listings. How do you actually get them shipped? But so you were already set up for that, Renee.
It's crazy. Like we have a 1,200 square foot office. It's like just like, my desk and like work tables and, and a bunch of bins that have all of our product in it. And because we ship everything for our website, and then generally we would just ship into FBA whenever, we have products running low. But we are in a position that, even though businesses in Nevada are shut down, like we don't have employees, it's just my husband and I. So we're able to go in and ship orders. And then, because we could set these particular listings up as FBM, like we've been in there fulfilling the orders. And I say we, but really it's been mostly my husband because I do all of the business operations otherwise, and he does most of the logistics and shipping. So, but I've had to step in and help. We have had to have a couple local friends that are in our women's business group have come in to help us. And, it's a big enough office. We can stay 6 feet away from each other and we're all wearing masks inside and washing our hands a lot and stuff. But it's just such a bizarre time. Like we have such a spike in demand, and like we actually need help in our office, but I have to be so careful about who I allow into my physical space, not only for, our own health, but also to make sure that like we're following our own protocols to make sure that like we're washing our hands and we're wearing masks, and that like we're not sending anything out that could potentially be contaminated either. So it's just really such a bizarre time to like have a boom in business, and I'm super grateful, but also like trying to maneuver those challenges of like having enough help to get stuff out there. Like one of the women sewing buttons for us she owns a cafe in Carson City, and it's shut down. So she completely sterilized the whole place and has her own sewing machine and says, I'd really rather just be in my own bubble. Like, can I just take the buttons and the headbands? And I'm like, by all means. So we've been meeting up with her every day, and she's been sewing, 100 plus headbands a day for us to keep up while our factory in Southern California was getting tooled up to give us the couple of colors that we have in depth on Amazon. We have a few other things available on our own website. So, this woman's been helping us do that. And it's awesome because, she's, her main source of income has been shut down. So now we're able to pay her piecework to sew buttons on headbands, and she's crushing it. Like she's cranking out so many headbands that it's like also really helping her, keep having an income for her family. So
Sure. So without necessarily divulging any kind of company details, can you share in terms of just a sense of scale, like in terms of where you were maybe pre-COVID and having these non-button headbands and now converting here? Is there sort of a sense in terms of impact to the business, positive, negative?
Well, our web sales and our Amazon sales are up significantly, but that is only about 20 to 25% of my business revenue. We are actually majority wholesale business, and we have Major League Baseball licensing. We sell products to most of the stadiums. So when COVID started, I was definitely in a funk. I had a significant number of our stadium orders for the summer canceled or frozen. We had shipped, we'd shipped spring training, of course, and we'd shipped the bulk of the first shipments for opening day, because they usually want those in February and March. So we shipped most of those before everything got frozen. Like March 13th, we stopped shipping to everybody. And, so I have a lot of income hanging out there, including some accounts that are past due now. And, and also knowing that those secondary like mid-season orders that we had in the queue, they're probably going to get canceled, because even if we do have a baseball season this year, it won't be until midsummer, which is when those second shipments would usually go. So if they already have their first shipment, they're not going to need a second shipment. So it's definitely like my business is, as well as many others, is going to have a ripple effect for the next 12 months minimum. Just from that, that was my main model, is wholesale baseball stuff. However, Dick's Sporting Goods came in and gave us a huge opening order last week that covers the
congratulations. That's fantastic.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, it's just been like such a whirlwind that, because we have licensing for gaiters, so neck gaiters. So it's not a mask. We're not calling it a mask, but it's a neck gaiter, and it can be used to pull up over your face. And we have Major League Baseball rights to that. So Dick's Sporting Goods bought a lot of them for their e-com. That we are shipping this week and next week. So my factory in LA has just been an absolute rock star, cranking out the things that we need. So, I mean, I would say overall, big picture, we're actually holding to kind of how we thought this year was starting to pan out before COVID. So we dropped, but then we picked back up. And then we picked back up a little bit, but we definitely don't have the potential and momentum that we had going into the year with other big accounts that we were really, pretty close to locking some deals in. So it's sort of
I think sort of the fascinating aspect is, because a bulk of your business is wholesale, and that's also in a space where the lockdown is tremendously impacting. You've managed to, with the help of your diversification, actually capitalize on your retail channels, kickstart a new product, using an existing baseline product. So it's just incredibly fascinating. And I think probably, hopefully gives a lot of, light bulbs should be going off right now for entrepreneurs watching this, in terms of how they might be able to do some pivots. As you think about kind of the future, one other aspect that comes to mind here is, for someone that might be just getting started online, you definitely had a bit of a head start in terms of your e-commerce site and Amazon channels already being available. But if you've got a product that's sort of creative as yours, then seems like it could be an opportunity for even a brick and mortar retailer to jumpstart and get going. As you think about the longevity, you mentioned about 12 months or so. Has this enabled you to kind of also pull some other products in your category that, obviously your masks and your headbands with the buttons are going to be taken off, but are other products also kind of seeing a lift, or are those the primary categories? And have you thought about the future or other product categories that you might introduce to ensure you can continue to sort of see that upswing?
Yeah, not necessarily new products. So we actually use, in the bulk of our products, we use a patented cooling fabric. So we've really, as a brand, focused on performance for whatever products we're making. Majority is headbands, but we do, we have some neck gaiters and some cooling scarves and, a few other pieces. So we've really focused on making sure that the products that we're making are premium, like they're performance driven. We have professional athletes wearing our products. It's really important to me to put stuff out there that actually works. And so, thinking of the big picture of like the ripple effect over the next year or 2 years or 3 years, I've actually been thinking in textile science, like what else is out there that we can be using that's, it's not just cooling, but could be antimicrobial, antiviral. There's a lot of textiles out there that are really, the textile industry is doing a great job of innovating new fabrics for us to use with different applications. So, on the big picture things, those are the things that I'm thinking about. Like, what are things going to look like in a year? What can we be cutting and sewing that's going to add value to the wearer? And like, especially if we can come up with something that's like truly, rated at some sort of medical grade protection. We just haven't had those capabilities up until now. And unfortunately, and I think our country is really realizing how much we depend on overseas manufacturers. Like you know, we've gotten used to paying a certain price for things, and we don't like the idea of paying more for it. But the reality is we just outsource everything we actually need in our country right now. And it's tough for US manufacturers to try to retool and create these things that we so desperately need so quickly in this country. So I think there will be some onshoring of, you know, some of our essential goods again. And if there's an opportunity for me to, you know, work with some of the textile mills that I work with to create some new fabric technology, like that's where my brain is. I mean, but that's definitely like the long haul. If we can come up with some products that would really add value, because like, you know, minus a really effective treatment or a vaccine or both, like I just don't see us going back to quote unquote normal, where we're going into convention centers and we're going to, you know, stadiums and packing stadiums, and we're going to amusement parks. Like I don't see that returning to normal until this has been eradicated, and we just don't know how long that's going to be. And I mean, I hope we're able to go back to, you know, somewhat of a normal experience. But, you know, I had a big wake up call when this happened, realizing that my whole business model was based on the fact that people wanted to get together and go to a stadium to watch a ball game. So, you know, I think it's really important, you know, I've come up with some things that are working, and I'm really super grateful for that. But I think, you know, entrepreneurs as a whole need to be really thinking about how things are changing, what is working, and what is like, what's our new normal in 6 months, in a year? What are people going to want? What are they going to be buying? What services are they going to need? How are those services going to be performed in a different way than they were before a global pandemic? Like, I think these are the questions that entrepreneurs can be asking themselves and talking with their peers about, coming up with really creative solutions so that, you know, not only that we can stay in business, but that we can thrive and that we can offer jobs to people, and that we can provide these things that the world is really going to need. So it's just been an opportunity to like really think at that 10,000 foot level, and, you know, just really think about what do we need as a country, as a world, as a global community.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I think right now everybody needs to really think about what the future looks like, and how as entrepreneurs we can see, as Emily also pointed out, what's the opportunity? How do we actually capitalize in the moment? Before I wrap up here, I did want to talk. I did want to ask, like, in terms of your overall business operations, the way that you were set up. Sounds like there were some things that worked really to your advantage operationally as this happened. Does it change the way you run your business now? Are you thinking differently about staffing? Are you thinking differently about fulfillment and operations? You talked a little bit about coming onshore, but has this also changed for you, not just products and the way you think, but the way that you would actually run your business operationally differently?
You know, yes. Interestingly, I was really leaning towards, and like we were building momentum to hire more, and more people. And for a long time, I've had a lot of independent contractors that have lived remotely. You know, they're not anywhere near us in our tiny little town in northern Nevada, but that's been great. I mean, Emily is an example of that. You know, we're not in the same city, but we're lucky enough that we do get to see each other a couple times a year in person. But I've been really wanting to have people in my actual office. Like, I've wanted to start building a company culture where we do have that face-to-face interaction. So while that's still true, I think I'm now, more open to saying, okay, well, I still want to find the right people that are close to us physically, but they don't have to come in for a while. Yeah. and just trying to think, okay, well, I'm kind of being forced back to that virtual model. And we are going to be hiring really soon. Like, cash flow is there. I have a contractor I've been working with for a while who's a rock star. She's an operations manager, project manager for me. And she's very likely getting put on payroll pretty soon. So that is like so awesome. It's like it's just exciting that like this opportunity right now is allowing for that to happen. And, if we can continue to grow at this pace, then I'll be able to hire more people. And that, feels really great right now when there's so many people that have lost their jobs. And, here we're one of the companies that's succeeding right now. So to be able to, you know, actually grow and have help and hire people. So, I mean, these are all like really things I'm looking forward to. So, you know, things have changed a little bit operationally, but like on the bigger scale too, like our ability to ship FBM is another reason we're winning right now. Because of the current FBA, that would not, our products wouldn't be considered essential. They wouldn't be shipping out quickly. And I think that's another reason that we're beating our competitors, is because our competitors don't have an option for FBM, which is why so many of those ship dates are so far out. So we're winning because we're shipping in 2 days right now. And so, you know, that definitely has me thinking a little bit more of the long term, that, you know, of course, I hope FBA doesn't continue to like pick up and ship, you know, for the next month or two. It'll keep giving us a little bit of a competitive advantage. But I just, you know, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to unfold with Amazon, how things are going to change with their shipping and their warehouses. But right now we're in a good position that we can ship our own product. And let's pray that the U.S. Postal Service gets the funding it needs, because we ship all of our stuff U.S. Postal unless somebody requests that it go overnight. And I just can't imagine absorbing the additional shipping charges. Like, you know, a headband's under $20. People don't want to pay $12 to ship it FedEx ground and have it take, you know, a lot longer than the post office. So, I mean, I hope that we fix that as a country, because I know so many people depend on that as part of their business operations.
Yeah. No, that's very insightful. I think some keywords that really stand out to me from our discussion is, you know, diversification, creativity, embracing kind of remote work, right? And, you know, having that flexibility to fulfill yourself rather than relying on just FBA or a third party. Again, I think as an entrepreneur, your creativity, I think, is incredible here, and very inspiring story, I think, for everyone that's watching. And I also just want to say thank you for coming up with this product, because it's going to really help our frontline workers who really need it the most. All of our healthcare professionals are doing such a tremendous job. It's war out there, and they're jumping head in. Emily, I want to thank you for making the introduction to Renee, and we hope you'll do many more of these and introduce us to wonderful clients that you're working with that are really finding some creative ways to beat the crisis. Again, I want to thank you, Emily, for taking the time, and Renee, thank you also for being a part of our Beat It series.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prague. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Prague. Always a pleasure.
Great. Thank you so much.